start in like exactly 30 seconds.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Jennifer McKelvey, Councillor for Scarborough Rouge Park and Chair of the City of Toronto Infrastructure and Environment Committee. I'm pleased to join you today at the Spadina Museum National Historic Site, one of 10 museums operated by the City of Toronto. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. This morning, we will hear an important announcement from the Honourable Carolyn Bennett, Minister of Crown, Indigenous Relations, and Member of Parliament for Toronto St. Paul's, Robin Martin, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Health and Member of Parliament for Eglinton Lawrence, and Deputy Mayor Michael Thompson. At this time, it's my pleasure to welcome the Honourable Carolyn Bennett, Minister of Crown, Indigenous Relations, Member of Parliament for Toronto St. Paul's, to the podium for remarks about this important site we're meeting on today. Good morning, Minister.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Councillor McKelvey, for your introduction and for leading us through this exciting three-level of government announcement. And I too would like to acknowledge the land that the project that we're announcing today is on the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, where we honor all of the Indigenous peoples who paddled these waters and whose moccasins walk these lands. I'm thrilled to be here in Toronto St. Paul's on behalf of the Honourable Catherine McKenna, Federal Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, and with colleagues Robin Martin and Michael Thompson. And it's I think always exciting when all three levels of government get to come together on something that we've all chosen as a priority. And we thank all of you for joining us here today at this beautiful historic site, including Joanne Pinn, the Acting Director of Museums and Heritage Services, and Cheryl Blackman, Acting General Manager of Economic Development and Culture. Since March 2020, Canadians have been impacted by the consequences of COVID-19 pandemic. From coast to coast to coast, we have been learning to cope with the new realities in the new world we find ourselves in. It's not been an easy time for many, but even as the situation continues to evolve, all orders of government across Canada are working together to reduce the impact of the pandemic, to protect lives, support communities, and to create jobs. As we build back better, to do it in a way that makes our communities more livable, more resilient, and more sustainable places to live, work, and play. Community and recreational spaces are at the heart of where people want to live and raise their families. And since the beginning of the pandemic, they have become even more important to maintaining our physical, mental, and social health. That's why we're all so pleased to be here to join the province of Ontario and the City of Toronto to announce our support for the revitalization of the historic Spadina Museum. Investing in community and cultural infrastructure is an essential part of growing our economy and providing communities and Canadians with more options to connect, to express themselves, and to support one another. So today, I'm proud to announce that the Government of Canada is providing more than $1.18 million to support the renovations and improvements to the exterior and to the interior portions of this facility. First, joint funding will improve the accessibility along the pathways leading from the street to museum entrances, meeting the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act requirements. Work on the exterior of the building will include weatherproofing and restoration of existing windows and doors and make it more eco-friendly. And portions of the museum's garage interior will also be renovated to allow for the additional programming and rental space to make it a community hub. So new flooring, lighting, and a kitchenette will be installed, while the second floor will be remodeled to accommodate increased programming. Once complete, patrons of the Spadina Museum, including those living with disabilities, will benefit from improved accessibilities, better rental and programming space, and improved overall experience. Furthermore, the improvements announced today will ensure that residents and visitors will have access to this historic landmark in Toronto St. Paul's for many years to come. Last Sunday, on the first National Emancipation Day, I was thinking about when I was able to attend the moving one-person play here about the life of Mrs. Pipkin, who had escaped slavery in Maryland and came to work as the laundress here at the mansion of financier James Austin. Museums are living spaces and have so much to teach us about our history. For years, the Spadina Museum has transported visitors back to an authentic experience of early 20th century Toronto as it was, through beautifully maintained architecture and the fascinating exhibitions and artifacts based upon the exquisite record keeping of the past owners. The beautiful gardens that extend across the property have hosted so many wonderful events, from the Roaring 20s Gatsby Garden Party to our Canada 150 celebration. I am so happy that this funding will ensure our community
Thank you, MPP Martin, and likewise, thank you so much for ensuring that resilience is embedded into the investments that we are making. It's now my pleasure to introduce my colleague, my friend, Deputy Mayor Thompson. There's many hats at the City of Toronto, wonderful representative for Scarborough Centre, Chair of the Economic Development and Committee, and of course, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor McKelvey, and good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here with you this morning on behalf of Mayor John Tory for this very important announcement with Minister Bennett and MPP Martin. The City of Toronto is grateful for your ongoing support and contribution in making our communities a better place for all. Spadina Museum's National Historic Site is one of 10 Toronto's History Museum run by the City of Toronto's Museum and Heritage Services. It was first opened in 1984. In 2010, an extension, restoration, and representation enabled the museum to open our eyes to the opulent lifestyle of the Austin family who reside here. And also, they were Canada's elite family in the 19th and the early 20th century. I'm very pleased to announce that the City of Toronto will add an additional $790,000 to the combined $2.18 million announced by the federal and provincial government. Thank you both for that outstanding contribution to help this magnificent facility. That will bring the total fund allocated for this project to nearly $3 million. The funding announced today will enable the City of Toronto to make Spadina Museum facilities more accessible, as Minister Bennett and Martin has expressed, and expand the museum's capacity by upgrading the former Heritage Garage building into accommodating new public space and also creating opportunities for community-led programming in this new space. The garage, which will be revitalized based on universal design principles, will enable the museum to build deeper community connection through expanded programming, collaboration, and also allowing the facilities to be rented to groups and community groups and so on. For Toronto's History Museum's cultural programming encompasses the past, the present, and the future. It provides us with a contextual foundation to build meaningful and inclusive connection within our neighborhoods and between our communities. The museum is rethinking and expanding historical interpretation, as Minister Bennett has just given you an example of what happened just last week, to bring into light the overlook historical threads in our society. Notably, it reveals the deep Indigenous connection to the museum lands, and it unwraps the lives of the staff whose hard work allowed the Austin family to maintain their lavish lifestyle. The splendor of the Spadina Museum is certainly a feast for the eyes, but is also equally an invitation to explore how our city and its people cope with previous periods of disruption and change. I want to thank Cheryl Blackman, the Acting General Manager of Economic Development, and her team, Alexandra Kim, Kathy O'Connor, Joanne Pye, for delivering outstanding community programs in our community. Let me also just thank them also because one of the things that I've been able to discern over the last few years is the number of young people who are becoming acclimatized and getting involved with respect to history. That is as a result of the museums and what we have done to transform and renovate and also keep a purposeful perspective on the past, the present, and our future. And our young people have just taken this on. And I'm so delighted that the announcement that will be made here today by the federal government and provincial government and the city allows us to expand and create that opportunity of learning and that opportunity of understanding. So the next generation of leaders will not simply, not be aware of their past. They'll have a full understanding of their past and will also have a greater understanding with respect to their expectation with respect to the future. So they're broadening our understanding of the highlights and stories that advance reconciliation and encourage anti-racism and anti-oppression. So this is extremely important for our community and for our society as well. Most of all, they're making Toronto's history fascinating, as I express, to young people and to all, so that they can explore our past, understand our rich history. And yes, it wasn't always pretty. There's a full recognition of that, but also understand the changes that we are making is in the best interest of all, because what we want to do is to bring this all together. So this period and opportunity where there's excitement in learning and understanding the relevance of our history and the present, as well as the preparation for our future. So I'm really delighted to participate in today's announcement. And I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. And I'd like to invite my colleagues to come up and take a photo, and also to invite any questions that may come from the media. So maybe we'll invite the questions from the media and maybe just I'll come up. So do you have questions? Sure. Yes. Okay. Sure. And I think Minister Bennett was quite clear in terms of her explanation. It is to make it accessible for all those individuals who may have any mobility challenges and so on, to be able to look at things like expanded sidewalk facilities, making sure that the entrance way into the building are appropriate for easy accessibility. And of course, this is part of that, but also to ensure that people understand that this facility is here. I regret to say this, but this is my very first time on this site. I've driven by a million times, but I've never been here. And it is such an exquisite facility and space, the ground. This is outstanding. So the repair that's going to be done with respect to the garage to enhance programming opportunity for everyone. And at the same time, to create opportunities as well for the public and the community at large to be able to come and really experience this magnificent property that is actually owned by us, the people of Toronto. And so I think it's extremely important to understand that we want to make it accessible for everyone. I don't know if any members would like to add anything else.
I chaired the Persons with Disabilities Committee at Parliament for, I think, 5 years, a long time ago. And I think that we've gone away in terms of there actually being standards now as to what is okay and what's not okay, leaving no one behind. We don't want to see a wheelchair at the bottom of a set of steps. We don't want to see people unable to get in from the street. And I think that the incredible staff here in the city, but also the Ontario standards in terms of persons with disabilities, that this is about setting a standard and meeting it and making sure the resources are there to make sure that no one's left behind.
Any further questions? Okay. No questions.
I think all of our jobs is to promote local, and whether that's shop local or eat local or find these new little treasures and gems of spaces that belong to everybody, is I think some of what we've learned through COVID, that people found spaces that were really close by that they never knew about. And I think that today's announcement is really an invitation to everyone to come and enjoy this extraordinary space. As you know, part of Budget 2021 federally was the ravine strategy that people like Minister Freeland and I and many others have felt was very, very strong. Our city is the Brickworks once called Toronto San Francisco upside down, because we actually have this tremendous network of ravines and green spaces that we hope is the big outdoor classroom for schools and for all Canadians. I think some of us have felt that some of the people who have chosen Canada make better use of the outdoor spaces than the people who were born here, and that we want to be able to make sure that people know that these tremendous spaces exist, and they can come and collect chestnuts or understand what trees are here and really what makes our creates the oxygen that we breathe. But also, I was very upset when I heard that there's a new diagnosis called nature deficit disorder, and that for people to not actually have exposure to the out of doors, not be able to see how that Mother Nature bats last, and that we actually all need to have that huge respect for the land and the air and the water that the Indigenous people were trying to teach us when the settlers arrived.
If I can just add, in Ontario, of course, we have the Rediscover Ontario program that we're trying to promote tourism within Ontario. It's what's accessible to most people. Traveling is even harder now than normal for people, and so we really are encouraging people to rediscover all that Ontario has to offer, both outside, as the minister was speaking about so eloquently, but also inside. And there's this is a treasure of a building with a great history, and there's so much to learn inside as well. So there's lots of places. We had staycations last summer, and I imagine a lot of us will be having staycations this summer. We can enjoy the bike trails, we can get out and explore Ontario, and there's so much to offer. So the world at your doorstep.
Okay, so shall we take a photo now? Group photo?
Yeah, but not, let's not do the podium.
No, we'll
Yeah.
do it over there.